Welcome to Marin Poets Live. I'm Neshama Franklin. I work at the Fairfax Library and I love poetry. After this program airs on TV, it will appear on the Marin Free Library website as part of a digital archive which also features biographies of the poets and links to our collection. Today, we feature Bill Noble. And welcome, Bill. Here we are.
Thank you so much.
You're
It's
the
a delight
first
to be here.
The first with a device, which I love.
With a device.
Yes. And on that device, I know is a Marin County poem. So let's hear it. I mean, I hope.
Indeed. So I think this first poem kind of covers all the bases we'll be navigating today. It's called I Didn't Write You a Birthday Poem. So I set off up the hills into the jaws of this spring storm to see if the weather had blown one or two in overnight. And what do I find? Hills like the colossal tangled bodies of lovers and great half-toppled towers of cloud, a green and white world with witch broom squalls scouring San Pablo Bay, and sun falling straight down the long meadows on the north side of the valley. As for poems, no luck. Love's muddled my poor head to the point that any poetry has been cropped down to puppy eyes, exhausted moans, and cliched repetition. You may regret it more than I do. Tonguing your navel the morning of your grand party, feathering my breath into your ears, rolling your shrieking resistance around until you gave up entirely and let me have my way. That was as good as 100 I ams, immortal or not. And then, taking you like that, face first into the bed and grinning, Jesus, woman, I emptied a year's worth of poetry into you. I think you soaked me to the knees. Rhyme, not reason. We need poetry.
Boy.
Happy birthday.
Boy, do we need poetry. I'm sorry I broke in to happy birthday, but what a joyous way to start. And it also reminded me that we haven't had a storm like that for so long. I'm so hungry, so thirsty for those storms.
Yeah, that was the wonderful meadow at the top of the hills above Woodacre. That's one of those places in Marin that's been a meadow forever because it's Montmorillonitic clay that expands and contracts as it gets wet and dry.
One of those words.
Root prunes. It's a great word, isn't
yes.
it? Yes, it's a delicious word.
Right. So the natural world really speaks to you in a number of ways, it seems.
I suppose that's true.
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually brought a second, arguably Marin poem.
Good.
This last one was on the hills. This one is down at Las Galinas at the wildlife ponds in the salt marshes there. It's called Heroning. This morning under cast iron cloud, I'll set out heroning, slow, patient stepping along the marsh edge, long stillnesses at the skirts of small spring rains. I'll wait for what the tall gray heron waits for, signs of life, mouse or gopher, scuttling sculpin. I need no more proof of the nourishment brought by patience than 6 feet of wing cast to the roiling sky. Feed me and bear me skyward.
You got right inside that bird, and that bird got right inside you. That's very beautiful, very exciting. Let's just keep going with more poems for now.
This next is a prose poem. My wife is very late stage Alzheimer's now, and my family has been very, very much a part of her illness. She still lives part-time with us. and this is called Pie. P-I-E. Her speech is so tangled now, so many nouns departed, so many fractured silences, that her fingers flutter like birds, she would say, if they had not flown. Today, after a long, dreamless sleep at the height of the day, mouth agape and drying, she struggles from the bed in despair. Everything flown away, words and more than words, so that caresses and loving prattle have no power to lift calamity. She has grown years older than her years, as if every night she rises from bed and wanders ahead of us through time. She lives at a distance, smaller and smaller. What is easiest to see now is what is missing. The doors that cannot be opened, the shirt that cannot be put on, the hesitant step. But while she slept, we have made a pie, daughter and I, a sunny pie of nectarines and raspberries, a pie of exquisite beauty and summer love, a pie we are sure will make her happy. But it's no use. She will not be enticed to the kitchen where the pie's cinnamon gold crust and fragrant steam can work their magic. We cajole, we invite, we tug her kitchenward. Her feet remain planted in the middle of the living room, head bowed, face averted. Pie, we exclaim, a wonderful pie. And then she finds a way to teach us, a way to keep us from forgetting who she is. Her thin arms reach out to encircle us and pull us close. She looks up, and with great effort, she searches our eyes, tightening the embrace. She is about to speak. People, she says, with perfect clarity, not pie. And we stand together within this smallest of all possible circles, rescued, reminded, nearly ready even for pie, in the midst of this one day of however many days we shall find the grace for.
I'm going to call it a knockout in its clear looking at that which is so hard to look at. And I also deeply appreciate your erotic tribute to her at the beginning and this looking at the end. I mean, that's the parentheses of poetry that both encircles and expands. That is why I love it so much. More.
So the next one, I spend as much time as I can contrive walking in the Sierra, and I love to do it with friends or family, and I absolutely love to do it alone. And so this, and I write a lot of poems as I wander. So this was written actually as it got dark after what happened in the poem happened. And the poem is called Bear. Comes before dark, sizes me up, lumbers down bulky, black, slops across the creek. Bear don't mind cold water. Invites himself. Checks the metal bear box, snuffs both hasps, rolls right past me, snuffs the cook pots, noses under, rolls them over once for noise, gives a long, one bear length look at me, raises halfway up, snuffs the wind for news, one more bear look right at me, 1,000. 2 1,000. Shambles off, fat with summer's grubs. Not fat enough. Not yet.
You are Bear. You became Bear. Were you terrified? Or could you?
No, grizzlies occasionally, yes. But black bears in the West, unless you're a tourist.
Oh, that's great.
You should probably be terrified then. But
yes, no, I'm very pleased you weren't terrified, because you could take Bear in and give Bear forth.
No, it was actually a wonderful visitation
Yes.
on a really beautiful mountain evening.
Right, and your words just fit the subjects very nicely, very well tailored.
Thank you.
Which I appreciated.
Well, I'm going to jump from bears to buns.
Good.
And this is not the Sierra. This is a poem that got written at 5 a.m, sitting in the bathroom at my very first visit to Harbin Hot Springs, which is this clothing-optional hot springs resort.
I've been there. Yes.
I'm sure a good part of the population of Marin County has. The poem is called Buns. Buns like butter rolls, buns like rosy hillocks, a weltering of buns, a plethora of buttocks, asses sagging, skimpy, sumptuous asses like the fundaments of civil discourse, asses as a smirky cheer, blubbered butt cheeks flexing for propulsion, jiggling to the collisions of a tryst, salty bakers, derrieres, happy honeyed haunches twinkling on the way to love, to commerce, on the way to worship. Give praise to these mostly speechless prophets of largesse, these twinned, these mooncalf testaments, these toothsome tubby tushes that serve us as our solemn, as our certain and unsullied seats of reason.
Boy, did you have fun. With alliteration, no less. Oh, that's just so playful and joyous. And I love the bit about something about usually speechless. I mean, that's a lovely snigger in there.
Thank you.
Some more,
Thank
please.
you. I had great fun with that one.
I could tell.
This next poem is for a really, really dear friend of ours who's pretty directly responsible, actually, for my youngest daughter existing. I was sort of ordered that I had waited way, way, way too long to decide that it was okay for my wife and I to have children. And so I was taken up on the ridges above forest knolls and instructed that it was time. The poem is called Kate's Hawk, and it's a poem for Kate Wolfe, who was born in 1942 and died in 1986. You would die within months, though none of us knew it that gentle sunny day. No one had named the thing that stalked you in your blood. Step by labored step, we climbed through spring, trillium and twisted stalk, the tiny bells of madrone strewn beneath our feet. Just below the ridge, a Cooper's hawk flashed and landed in the crook of an oak, an arm's length from us, eye to eye. Time was merciful and stopped. The shape of swiftness and certainty, that hawk, her carnelian eye had death in it and life. An innocent troop of chickadees passed over and around her. A jay shouted once and fled. And then she was gone. When we come to this place after all these seasons, there still comes a prickling at the back of our necks, as if you'd step from behind that tree and climb singing up the hill. we almost hear your songs, Kate, and the sudden sound of wings.
What a transmission from hawk to spirit about to depart to spirit about to come into being. That's quite amazing.
I was really honored with this poem. I was away somewhere for the 25th anniversary of the Marin County Open Space District, and the celebration was held in San Geronimo Valley at Roy's Redwoods. And Bob Haas and Greg Darms spoke poetry to that celebration, and to my amazement, weeks afterward when I heard about it, this poem was read into the space at Roy's Redwoods. It
doesn't surprise me one bit.
Made me very, very happy.
Yes. Some more, please.
Okay. So this is a poem written to my partner, Desiree, and it's called I Do. Let your breath bell out my belly. Let your tongue tip dance its minuets. I want to shape new sounds from the satin of your skin. I want your heart to harp my ribs, my spine to dangle like a necklace from your lips. Oh, let your seed pearl whisper secrets we simply cannot keep. Your hips upraise their praise in joining. Let my honey bear lap soft along your heat and swim your succor like a smile. I want your legs to loop my waist, your arms to hoop my kiss, like this. I want to canter camelback, to saddle vault and sally. Yes, I do. Come, let my seed swing arcs. Come, let me slip and slide you. Woman, when your eyes roll, when I lose my spurt of words, I want our shatter seismic. I want the rush of mountains in our arms. I do. And then to laugh like tasseled bells, our eyes like spilling jewels, our plain song throats. I want, I do, a peace like horses running on the hills. I do.
You do. Yes, I love, it's so hard. This erotic stuff can get so mired in cliche. And you are as far from that as anyone I can think of, because it's all so immediate, and it's also all clothed in metaphor and simile. So it doesn't get stuck in that which we, think of as, that which happens between fleshly bodies. So in any case, I love it. That's what I'm trying to tell you, whatever I said.
We've confined sexuality and desire into such a horrible, horrible Calvinist ghetto in this society. It's a great shame.
Yes. So I'll just give you a heads up about 7 minutes. So you may wonder what's coming up next that will fit into that space.
Okay, so I'll do some skipping around, but I think I won't leave this one out. Given all that's happening right now in the Middle East, this is a poem that was written on March 14th, 2003. These are not words. These are not words in my mouth, boy. Just common dirt. No glint of light in my eyes, boy. Flies. I was not white as you, boy, before these fires. Avert your eyes. Pass by. A fine Jeep you drive, boy. A fine, loud music you sing along with. Fine, proud plains they must be, boy, sure and steady, that fill our heaven like the word of God.
Mm. It's so tricky to get a little political, and so what you did was climb right into human experience. And there, therefore that word politics doesn't even count. It's just pain.
Many years ago, the wonderful woman who was forever the crossing guard at Lagunitas School for decades fell very ill, and the school had no crossing guard, and so I crossed Sir Francis Drake, major need. So my wife and I volunteered for the winter to be crossing guards, and it was a profound experience, and this is one of the poems that came from that experience. It's called The Joyful Boy. I'm the crossing guard with a pudgy day-glow vest and a loud red sign that shouts at cars to stop. And he's a 10-year-old with buzz-cut sandy hair below a flower-spotted Christopher Robin umbrella who ambles down the road for half an easy mile to where I'm standing waiting at the crosswalk in my drift of alder leaves and slow November rain, filled with everybody's somber winter uncertainties. But he's looking at the trees and the streaming hills and the rain-slick stretch of asphalt and the school, and he's smiling with that easy inward-outward smile that our children never smile anymore. And I'm so surprised, I say to him, "You're joyful." And he thinks and says, "I am," and smiles at me. And then we cross the road. He starts up the hill, still ambling that amble that children have forgotten. And then he stops and says to me, just to me, "And I'll be here tomorrow too." And I know he will.
That's beautiful. Crossing. We have 3 minutes. Let's see if you have a 3-minute poem. I'd like to take us out on a poem.
A 3-minute poem. Okay, give me a...
Scroll away. Let it pop out.
So this is called A Small Poem About Tenderness. Tonight, I would be the provider of solace, the caregiver, in the face of all that had afflicted you this day. But when you took me fully in your mouth, small, yielding, your encompassing warmth and sweetness without urgency or agenda, every door opened, every hurt and hesitation was healed. I gave myself up to you, and you gave me myself, whole and at peace. Would you like to be inside, you asked, looking up. And in a moment, you were above me, radiant, wordless, emptied of urgency and injury. And this thoughtless joy rose in my bones, this joy conceived in love, refracted in your eyes, easy as breath. Each day, each enfolding night, may we come to each other healed, jubilant, and patient, each days of all the days we may be graced with. May no hurt ever be stronger than the simplest act of love. May touch redeem us.
And that's a benediction that you have left us with. It's just beautiful. I feel very replete, and yet, of course, I'm hungry for more. But we have, a minute left. And so I'll just tell you how much I loved what you shared with us, which is very naked poetry, and also so well worked. Do you work them hard, or do they, maybe, on the page, or do they work inside and then they come out?
I'm not as bad as one of my mentors, Galway Canal, who considered that a poem was never finished.
Yeah.
But no, I will fiddle with a poem sometimes years later.
Okay. I mean, they are very finely fiddled, and we are now, we have to stop fiddling. We are done. But thank you so much for being with us, Bill Noble.
Thank you so much for this. This has just been a delight, Neshama.
Yes.